Alright guys, Boondog Media here. I'm your host Bryce, and today we're going to be bringing you a brand new video today about Halo Reach and was Noble Team targeted by a specific elite assassin. And that's all to come. Here in the next couple minutes, I'm your host again, Bryce, and let's get right into it. So what's going on here today is that there's a recent theory brought up by Halo Follower, one of the more prominent YouTubers in the Halo community, about why that there is Cat, Emil, and the other Noble team members have been targeted by a specific field marshal elite, and there is pretty good evidence to suggest this theory. Now, it may or may not be true. We never know. 343 can come out making canon, or Bungie can be like, "Oh yeah, that's exactly what we're going for." But anyways, so we're going to dive into it. First, we're going to target. There's two definite deaths that seem very similar, or that seemed like they were killed by a very similar person. So at the very beginning of the game, you get to meet the 6 Noble members. You get to meet June, Kat, Carter, George, Emil, and Noble 6. And over the time, you get the spoiler alert if you haven't played Halo Reach, but it came out in 2010. They all die in the end. Every single member dies eventually trying to get Cortana into the pillar bottom for them to fly off. And what's going on there is that Kat is the first death that you can use in this theory, as Kat was only the second death in the Halo Reach game, as George was the first sacrificing himself to blow up, I believe it was a Corvette. And Kat was the second one. However, it was very unexpected. It's probably the most unexpected death of all of them, to be honest, except for Emil. I mean, not Emil. June was the only character to survive that game, as he did just ride off in the sunset with Halsey, and never to be found until later into the game franchise. It was a while before we could find June again. But other than that, the other 5 Noble members did die. And getting back on track there, guys, you do have Kat dying as number 2, and this is the first sign of that theory coming into play, as Kat recently did not have her shields charged, and you can see from that Phantom, it was just a mysterious Field Marshal Elite just shooting a Neil rifle right into Kat's neck and instantly pretty much killing her. And what really is surprising is that he never really shot. He could have killed Noble 6, but I feel like it was more of an honorable thing that he's just picking them off one by one. And then you're kind of like, well, it doesn't make sense. Well, in the end, probably the main reason was story-wise, if this was the case. And you have to also think that Bungie can't tell a story if they're all killed off immediately by the same field marshal. So those are kind of the main reasons for that part. And you have to think that Kat was killed because of just her negligence. She was very horrible at that, and that's just one thing in the game that was the ultimate end of her, because she even lost her arm because of her negligence. And that's just kind of going off there. The field marshal has kind of been rumored to be the arbiter. That's another theory out of a theory, but in the end, it's more than likely not the case, as he was more of an honorable man, staying and fighting, and also ground tactics was the arbiter's main fighting skill. But also at the same time, the next death we'll have to go into is Emil's death. Now, we also know that he does die in the end. He was eventually stabbed through the chest, as soon as the Pelican left with Cortana and the pillar bottom. So Noble 6 would have to stay behind, and that's the reason why Noble 6 didn't leave like he was supposed to. And you also see at the same time, though, when Emil is stabbed, it is an elite field marshal, and Emil does take his knife out, stab him in the neck, but the elite is not confirmed dead. You never see him officially die. Now, that would be said that he would get so much honor for killing it, just 2 sprints alone. And so that may kind of like imply why we don't hear from this elite in Halo lore. Again, it's probably because he actually did die from the knife wound in the neck. Kind of because you going off of what Halo Follower said earlier, Chris, Sergeant Forge from Halo Wars, the original Halo Wars, stabbed the original Arbiter in the neck, and that killed him from there. But also, there's a chance that he could survive those wounds, and this kind of goes into the next part. At the very end of Halo Reach, you see Noble 6's death, and you don't see who's going to stab him, because you just see an energy sword and an elite foot fall down. Can that be the same elite? Is he doing the job that's 3 confirmed deaths as of there. As you also know that George was a sacrifice, and George and Carter were both sacrifices. So that's the only reason that they weren't murdered. They were just they sacrificed their lives to the cause. As George blew up a Corvette, and Carter took the Pelican and went into the Scarab, so that Noble Six and Emil could get to the passage and get to the Pelican that was needing transfer to the Pillar Bottom. And that's kind of just what was going on there. And I feel like that's a very prominent theory going on with Halo. I feel like it's an interesting theory, actually, is recently brought up for a game that's been around for, what is it, 2019, came out 2010, probably about almost a decade. It's ridiculously cool, though, that it came out this late. And but I'm going to leave it there for you guys today. I've been Bryce from Boondog Media. And as always, guys, take it easy.